out there. And I can remember clearly when it was Laird dragging his one friend Locke out there for 7 or 8 years before anyone was stand-up paddling. And I said, how does that make you feel? And he goes, I knew I was having so much fun. So it was never the idea of like, oh, I'm going to somehow bring this into modern day.
Right.
It was, I'm doing this for myself because I have an idea that I want to express. And so it's one of the things I appreciate. Or will it bring me fun and enjoyment? Straight up. You know, so.
Maybe that's why part of the reason you guys are happy.
Yeah.
That's I mean, high on the list. You're laughing, Laird, so what's happening over there? Well, could you explain to people also, because the foil boarding, now this takes my fear factor to a whole new level, because you're basically, well, why don't you explain it for folks? But it's not like you just jump off the board if things are going sideways, right? I mean,
no, you're attached
so
to
what
a
is
samurai sword.
Yeah, what is a foil board?
Well, it's a surfboard, or just a board like a wakeboard with a big strut like a foil, which is, you see the America's Cup guys are using them, and it's a big shaft.
It's 3 feet. It's over 3 feet long.
Yeah, 48 inches
beneath
tall.
the board.
Beneath the board, it's like a big fin.
It's a hybrid.
It's a big fin that makes the board fly off the water, but you're attached to it with snowboard boots and bindings, which you don't swim well with boots.
Right.
And but it's something that we kind of came upon as all of it's about an evolution to try to ride the biggest surf in the world. And so we started and with prone guns conventionally, and then
what are prone guns? Like
when you lay down on these big guns, and then we knew that
guns is the size.
Yeah, of when it's a gun, it's designed for giant waves. They're big, long. It's what all the modern manual way to catch waves.
Got it.
I mean, and it's an ancient way of doing it, but it's we found a cap. And we realized there was a ceiling, and that's
because the bigger waves move faster, or
bigger waves move faster. We're not able to physically
keep up,
and that's where the concept of towing came from.
Right.
The idea of being towed onto one and using the power to match the speed of the wave in order to ride bigger surf. And when we did that, it allowed us to ride smaller equipment that was actually faster.
Right.
And then we could perform on these giant waves.
And when you say giant, just for people who may not be familiar with big wave surfing, what are we talking?
Well, I mean, you start giant starts at 50-foot faces, and then it goes above. So 60, 70, 80-foot faces. I mean, that's giant. Big surf is, when we say it's big, it's 50 and below. And then when it goes to giant, and then it goes to like ridiculous
Stupendous.
Or enormous. Whatever. There's giant, there's big, there's giant, there's enormous. Yeah. And then everybody can get into 82.5 feet and all that stuff. But we found a cap, at manual. Then we found a cap. Ultimately, we found a cap with towing.
For towing. Where's the cap?
Probably about in the range of 100 feet. So that's, and we know there's a cap there. We know that there's an ability to not actually. Yeah. So we know there's a cap, and so at that point, and in the continual pursuit, it was what are we going to need to do? And we know that the only way we can do that is to not be on the surface, because surface tension is the thing that creates the most drag, which is what is stopping us once the waves are moving at a certain speed.
How did you what was the moment or the conversation or the event where it was like, holy shit, we could do this, because the idea of putting the strut and having that foil-like effect on a board, it hadn't occurred previously. So
no, it's none of this. As I always say, there's no new idea, just a new application of an old idea. So this there's a seated foil called an air chair that somebody had in a garage on Maui. And one summer we were playing around, and my friend goes, oh, this guy's got this weird contraption. So we went over to the house. It was in the corner, had dust on it, cobwebs, and we're like, hey, what's that? Oh, it's some stupid thing called an air chair. I mean, it wasn't bad enough that he would let us keep it, but we got it, and we rode it, and we were. And
now, were you being towed behind something?
And you're strapped to it.
Yeah, Mike Murphy created it.
Yeah, and you're strapped to it with a seat. And I thought it was for handicapped initially, because the position was you're strapped with a belt. Yeah, you're in, and that's a bad position.
They used to tow people behind boats with them.
Yeah, and now they have a new one. So now they have one called a sky ski, where they do flips, and people ride these things and do amazing things on them, and you're towed behind a boat, like a water ski boat. And so we got one, and the first thing that we we wanted to do was stand on it, because we go, listen, seating is
Not our thing.
again, part of our mottos, stand up on the golf board, stand up paddling, stand up, like standing up, better position to be in, we're humans.
Yeah.
Seated's not great, crawling's not wonderful, laying down's even worse. So we, so we started to stand on it, and as soon as we stood on, we go, oh, we can stand on it. I mean, it was hard because we were, using the seat and kind of, and we didn't have bindings. And so I asked.
Sounds extremely precarious.